In this video, you're going to learn how you can lead the song King of My Heart by Sarah and John Mark McMillan with just you and an acoustic guitar. Coming up. Welcome to Advanced Worship Guitar Tutorials. My name's Spencer Cormany from leadingworshipwell.com, and in this video, we're taking a look at the song King of My Heart by Sarah and John Mark McMillan. If you haven't seen the cover that I put out of this song yet, you can check that out right here. That's going to show you the arrangement that you'll learn in this video. Also, you're going to see a bunch of advanced guitar chords in this tutorial because it's an advanced guitar tutorial. And if you want to learn more of those chords, there's a link in the description below to 25 advanced guitar chords. So click that link and I'll send you 25 advanced guitar chords so you can level up your guitar playing even more. Other than that though, let's get into it. Here we are in verse number 1, and we have our capo on the 2nd fret playing G shapes. That puts us in the key of A. And here are the chord shapes that we're using for verse number 1. We're going to play a G like this, to a C, back to the G, to an E minor like this, to a D, then we're going to move that chord shape down 2 frets to get a C, back to the G. And so we'll repeat that chord progression twice. Altogether, verse number 1 sounds like this. We're going to hang on this G chord at the beginning of the song. Let the king of my heart be the mountain where I run, the fountain I drink from, oh, he is my song. Let the king of my heart be the shadow where I hide, the ransom for my life, oh, he is my song. Into chorus number 1. Before we get there though, I'll just show you that little thing that I'm doing on the C chord. We're just hammering on to the 2nd fret of the D string. So if you were wondering what I was doing there, that's it. Let's move into chorus number 1. Here we are in chorus number 1, and we're going to be mimicking, there's like a keyboard part that just keeps slamming on the high keys where it's like. So I kind of tried to add that to this guitar part. So I'll show you the chords that we're playing, and then I'll show you how to add that little keyboard part on top of it. So we're going to be playing an E minor like this. Then we're going to be playing a D like this, to a C, to a G. So to get that little keyboard part, I want you to think of your guitar in 2 sections. So there's like the bottom bass part, which is like E, A, D, those strings, and then there's the top ringy part, I'll call it, or like the keyboard part, which are the G, the B, and the E strings. So whenever you want to get that keyboard dun, dun, you know what I'm talking about, you'll hit those top strings. So keep that in mind as I play through chorus number 1. Chorus number 1 sounds like this. You are good, good, oh, oh, you are good, good, oh, oh, you are good, good, oh, oh, you are good, good, oh, oh. Gonna end on this G to head into verse number 2. Here we are in verse number 2, and we're gonna be playing the exact same chords that we played in verse number 1. I am going to add this E minor in the second half of verse number 2, so just watch out for that. Also, at the very beginning, we want to kind of wait to come in until we hit this C chord. So pay attention to that. I'm not really strumming that hard yet. I'm just kind of rocking on this G note down on the 3rd fret of the E string until we hit that C chord. So pay attention to those dynamics, but other than that, this is what verse number 2 sounds like. Let the king of my heart be the wind inside my sails, the anchor in the waves, oh, he is my song. Let the king of my heart be the fire inside my veins, the echo of my days, oh, he is my song. Into chorus number 2. Here we are in chorus number 2, and we're going to kind of move our high keyboard part that we were playing in chorus number 1. We're going to move that down to just down here. So I'm still going to be playing that keyboard part, sort of, except we want full chords now, so we had to move the chord shapes down. So these are the chord shapes that we're going to be using in course number 2. They look like this. Here's the E minor to a D suspended, to a C, to a G. So all pretty normal chords, but remember we want to hit those high strings on the guitar to make that chimey keyboard part. So chorus number 2 sounds like this. You are good, good, oh, oh, you are good, good, oh, you are good, good, oh, oh, you are good, good, oh. We're gonna hang on this G for a little bit and then head into the bridge. Here we are in the bridge of the song, and we're going to make things nice and thin, nice and quiet until we build it up in the second half of the bridge. And if you see some different chords here than what you're used to playing in the bridge of this song, that's because I've taken these chords from the live version that John Mark did with his wife. I'll try to link that in the description below, but he uses some different chords in the bridge of that version. In the original recording, they're just kind of like a couple chords, but he had some more in the live version, which I liked, so I added them to this arrangement. And so here are the chords that we're playing. I'll go through them quickly. Playing a G like that, playing a C like this, playing a D like this, to an E minor. So we're going to use those chords, and we're kind of mimicking that keyboard part that we did way back in course number 1. So listen for that. I'll play through the first half of the bridge, and then I'll show you what happens whenever we open it up to a louder section of the bridge. Sounds like this. You're never gonna let me down. 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 Now we're gonna open it up. You already know all these chords, so I'll just show you how it looks. It sounds like this. You're never gonna let me down. 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 And you can jump the octave somewhere in that bridge if you want. I didn't do it in the cover, but you can do whatever you want because you're leading the song. So let's move into the final chorus. It sounds like this. Here we are in the final chorus, and the final chorus is exactly the same as chorus number 2. You probably just want to hit it a little bit harder so you get those dynamics right in the song. The final chorus sounds like this. You're never gonna let me down. 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 So, excuse my singing, it's like still relatively early, so I don't want to annoy all my neighbors, so I didn't want to really reach for those high notes. I hope you understand. Let's move into the outro. Here we are in the outro of the song, and maybe you don't even include this part whenever you lead the song. I don't know. Let me know in the comments below, do you add this outro part? Because I feel like this is kind of an extra part that I haven't heard a lot of people do. But I added it to the cover, so I'll show you the chords that we're using. We're going to be playing these chords that we have been playing, an E minor, to a D, to a C, to a G. Then we're going to go up to this A minor, to a G over B, to a C. Then from there, we're going to thin things out and play this E minor, to this D, to this C, to this G, and then back to the chords that we just played with the A minor, G over B, C. So altogether, the outro sounds like this. When the night is holding on to me, God is holding on. And when the night is holding holding on to me. God is holding on. Congratulations, you just learned how to lead the song King of My Heart by Sarah and John Mark McMillan with just you and an acoustic guitar. If you saw some chords that you liked in this tutorial and you want to learn even more advanced guitar chords, there's a link in the description below to 25 advanced guitar chords where I show you a bunch of new guitar chords that you can implement into your guitar playing and level up your guitar playing. So click the link in the description below and I'll send that to you. Other than that, thanks so much for joining me today. Until I see you in the next video, keep leading worship well.